Hi, welcome to It's Catching, why content goes viral on the net and how to give yourself an edge. My name is Nate Bonilla Warford. I'm an optometrist in Tampa, Florida. I do primary care. I practice vision therapy and ortho-K. I did my residency in pediatric vision from Illinois College of Optometry in 2005, and that entire time and before, I've been interested in social media both for personal reasons as well as for marketing the practice. I've been a social media consultant since 2009. I was originally paid in pizza. So what we're going to talk about today is viral marketing. And these are the primary topics that we're going to go over during our discussion today. We're going to talk about what viral means and how that applies to viral marketing. We're going to explain the primary factors that are involved in, quote, going viral. We're going to talk about how that can be good and bad, and we're going to show some real world eye care examples of viral success. So, have you seen this video? Do you know what this baby's name is? The chances are pretty good that you know his name is Charlie. And what he did is he bit his brother. And this one incident where he says, "Charlie bit me," this went viral. Meaning that hundreds of people shared it with thousands of people and millions of people saw it. And it's not a particularly amazing or unique occurrence, but this particular video caught in this particular way definitely got the attention of lots and lots of people. And not only was it an earlier example of a video, what we say, going viral online, but it's funny because this family has actually tried to capitalize on that, and they now sell t-shirts and hats and all kinds of stuff that says "Charlie bit me." And that is one example of a video that definitely went viral. Now, what about this one? It's a video of a rainbow. It's not a particularly incredible video as it's shaky and kind of ridiculous. It's not even an incredible rainbow. We see double rainbows all the time. But this double rainbow video definitely went viral to the point that there were parodies and remixes and songs and websites and lots and lots and lots of people still to this day talk about this video and double rainbow all the way. We need to talk about what is basically the definition of going viral these days, and that's SIB. This video, which came out last year, this has now been seen over 1 billion times. And yeah, it's a great video. I mean, it's funny, the song is catchy, it's very much like any other video that you might see on MTV. So what made this one the most viewed video on YouTube ever, crossing the 1 billion marker? And why is that? And it's no accident. And that's what we're going to talk about, is viral and what that means. So what are we talking about when we say viral? Well, according to dictionary.com, there's two definitions. One, of pertaining to or caused by a virus, which makes sense. And two, the one we're more concerned with, pertaining to or involving the spreading of information and opinions about a product or service from person to person, especially on the internet or in email. And so that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about a method of transmitting information or ideas from one person to another, and how we can make use of that. Now, actually, I'm going to break it down into two different types of ways to think about viral. The first is the lowercase version, which is more or less what we just read, basically saying this is information that is shared by networks. And the big distinction here is, instead of being one to many, which is the traditional mass media way to get messages across if you're a company, where you spend as much money as you can or want to, and you try to get your message in front of as many people as you can. The viral nature of spreading messages occurs because each individual person is empowered with the ability to share that particular piece of information in a quick and easy way. And that's what we call spreading the information virally. And so you've got your one main company or entity, organization, person in the middle, and they can share it with all of these different people via their networks, and these individuals will share it with their networks, and so on and so on. And the point is that even though the original is doing less sharing overall than in the mass media model, the information will, if it's good, get put out to more people and quicker, because all of these people here on the outside are doing the work for you. Now, what we're also talking about here is the uppercase definition of viral, or in this case, going viral, or getting hugely popular. And what that basically means is, and we have the graph here, as time goes on and there's a certain amount of engagement with any particular piece of content or any information, and here it gets shared and it's shared and it gets more interesting and different people see it, and then at some point it hits this critical mass. And what that means is it basically gets known for going viral. When people think of something as having gone viral, then they want to be associated with it, and they want to jump on the bandwagon so they can share it with their people, and they can get the benefits of sharing that content and getting that attention and traffic as well. And so when we're talking about going viral, we're talking about being on the right side of this tipping point as opposed to the left side. Now, for the vast majority of people, the vast majority of the time, we are on the left side here. We share by our normal viral lowercase means, and if we're lucky, it might reach this point where reached the critical mass, and then it catapults us into the gone viral message. And so that is what happens if you are doing successful viral marketing. And it's very difficult to do, but there are some great examples of companies that have done it. And the first example that we're going to look at here is Will It Blend? Now, many of you may have seen these videos. There is a company, Blend Tech, that they made very, very high quality, very expensive blenders. And they were great blenders, but they hadn't done a very good job of marketing or branding their products. And so they deliberately set out to develop some short videos that were relatively unpolished. This is the real CEO, and what he's doing is he's trying to use these videos to market their products. And in this case, what they're doing is they are blending up a brand new iPhone. when the iPhone 4 came out, they put it in the blender to see if it would work. And it's so ridiculous and it's so preposterous to blend this new video in a blender. Not only does it demonstrate how good the blender is, but it got a whole lot of attention. And so what would happen is many people would watch these videos. Now they promoted it on Google and Yahoo, and over 200 million people watched these videos, and it also got other TV and other exposure. The end result is 700% increase in sales. So they now went from making excellent blenders that nobody knew what they were to having a very solid brand of blenders and awareness of their reputation simply by using these videos. And that was an excellent case study of viral marketing. Now, another case study and point is Old Spice. My dad, when I was a kid, used to use Old Spice, and that's what I thought of as what Old Spice was. And I think that was probably true for millions of other people, something that their parents or grandparents might have used. Well, due to a very carefully crafted campaign using this guy here, Isaiah Mustafa, they created these short videos on YouTube in response to questions that fans would ask, and in a mere 36 hours they had 23 million views, which led to over 1.2 different impressions in different media, because once they crossed that tipping point, everybody was talking about and citing these videos in examples online and in print. And not only were these engaging videos, but they actually increased their sales of Old Spice products more than doubled after these videos came out. So there's no doubt that was a success. So another example that's very recent is the Red Bull free fall record. Red Bull and Felix Baumgartner deployed this record free fall, and the amazing thing about this was that 8 million people simultaneously watched live on YouTube, which is somewhat of a victory for Google and YouTube, but it obviously got a lot of attention for Red Bull, and this is very consistent with Red Bull's branding efforts up until this point. And so during that 24 hours when this happened, they increased their Facebook likes by 270,000, as well as 235,000 more Twitter followers, and worth millions and millions of dollars in exposure and content. Now, this is too recent to know to what degree they actually sold more Red Bull from this, but like I said, it's consistent with their overall branding and marketing, and so it's safe to assume that this was money well spent for them. So viral marketing is an attempt to have your particular piece of content reach that inflection point and get shared so much that you're actually getting something for nothing. You're getting more views and more interaction than you normally would have gotten by simply paying to promote it. And so our question is, how does this happen? Is this something that we can do in the optometric office? So the question is, how does that work? Why does that happen? And so let's look at some of the factors that are involved in, quote, going viral. And so what we have here is our viral recipe. And basically, when we're talking about going viral, it's the type of content that works well online. Content is king. And that's why going viral starts with the content portion. Basically, if you don't have something that is mind-blowingly amazing on some level. It's very difficult to get it to go viral. It either has to be so funny that people can't help but want other people to see it, or is so unimaginably amazing that they have to share it with people, or so moving in some way because it is very, very emotional. It could be something that's family or personal relationships or children related, or is so believable that it is just like a train wreck that you don't want to look away from. It's got to have some sort of ability to spark a change in people. But people are lazy, and people are bombarded with all kinds of information from all sides. So whatever the content is, it has to be very quickly understood. And that's one of the reasons why photos work so well, because you just look at them. The current trend is the memes that consist of text in the big white font over a square photo is very effective because you recognize it in an instant. And it's got to be something that is unexpected, or something that you didn't see coming, or is taking something that you already know in a different or unexpected way. And all of those things have to happen so quickly. And so some examples that have been used, these are branding or marketing examples, is the Dos Equis guy, the most interesting man in the world. This was what might not be different than any other branding or advertisement for a beer, yet the guy is funny, and people love to say something. I don't usually do webinars about viral marketing, but when I do, I use Prezi or whatever. So they put some sort of funny attachment to it and share it, and then that just builds up the viral credibility of the original ad, which was done by Dos Equis. So that's an example of a combination photo and text meme that can be successfully shared virally. Videos are clearly very successful because they are very powerful. You've got the emotion of the sound and the video. They also have to be short. Very few people are going to share a video that's very long and time-consuming to watch. The example here is the Dove video, which starts off the model who is not particularly attractive, and it time lapses all the way up to her face on a billboard. And so that's something that's short and people recognize. Now, I use this one here as an example because even though Justin Bieber is an artist, he definitely is a brand. And when he tweeted "R.I.P. Avalana, I love you," this was one of the most retweeted pieces of text on Twitter of all time. The key is, with text, it has to be so short that people can read it instantly and feel something and share it. And that's one reason why Twitter is so effective. So definitely what we're talking about here is amazing content. Now, what would that be for an eye care office? Well, that is certainly a challenge. There's lots of compelling reasons why people appreciate eyes and vision and glasses. However, making it so amazing and so incredible to where it's going to go viral in a big way is a challenge, but it is not necessarily impossible, and so we're going to look at some examples later. It stands to reason that if you have no connections to other people, that you're not going to get very far no matter how amazing your content is. And there's different qualities of networks that we need to take into account when we're talking about viral marketing. And so it stands to reason that the first thing we want to talk about is having many connections to people, or many followers in this case. And where do we get those connections? And they're primarily through different social networks or social applications. Facebook is obviously the biggest, the largest one, but Twitter is certainly can be very influential if you want to share something specific and get it out to lots of people, especially if it's in any way time sensitive. Reddit is an example of a community where people will share information, and by a system of voting, the most interesting or influential things will float to the top. And so these are just examples, and there's tons of others of local and other sorts of content-based communities and networks. So simply on just one level, the more followers you have, the more effective you're going to be at sharing your marketing message in a viral fashion. But it's not simply just getting it out to huge numbers of people. And so what you really need to do is have within your network some extremely influential or extremely well-connected people, and that's how the message gets even spread even more. And the example that this was part of a presentation that was done by one of the content managers at YouTube, and it was talking about why certain YouTube videos tend to go viral. And what he was talking about is the importance of individual influencers. And this is specifically the double rainbow video that I had shown earlier. And the key here is Yosemite Mountain Bear, I think his name is, had uploaded the video much earlier. And just like the vast majority of videos on YouTube, really nobody saw it, and nobody really looked at it, and nobody really commented on it. And then at one day, Jimmy Kimmel came upon it, or somebody told him about it, and he tweeted about it, and instantly the amount of views that the video got skyrocketed and became very famous for quite a while, until the daily number of views sort of decayed for a little while. But in this particular case, it was Jimmy Kimmel that was the catalyst for the double rainbow video. And generally speaking, any piece of content that is going viral does have one or more very influential people who's the catalyst to get that going. Now, because the network as a whole has a variety of not just people, but people of different influences, there's actually a lot of work that's been done into looking at how important the different types of networks play in the value that can be made in how likely information is to be spread. The original work was considered Metcalfe's law, and basically said for any given network, the overall value of the network is the number of components of the network. In this case, we're talking about people in a network squared, and so that's represented here by the red line. And there was some more work, Reed's law, which said, well, it's actually proportional to the to the nth power, however many people are part of the network, which is actually more powerful when you have lots of other people. And then Zipf's law is it's not really just the square or to the nth power, but it's actually the number times the log of the number. And that's definitely a slower amount of power. So what these different lines actually mean is, if you have different networks of different size, how valuable is that in terms of getting the message out? And the original Metcalfe's law says that bigger networks are more powerful than they really are. And when they did studies of actual behavior, online behavior, to see what actually happened, it turned out that Zipf's law is more in line with actual growth of the propagation of memes and viral messages online. Now, what we're talking about here is the value of individual networks as it applies to sharing information to a whole lot of people. And the more different networks you have, the more likely your message is going to be shared. But even within networks, there is different amounts of sharing for different pieces of information. And so the very large networks online, or the different websites that host a lot of information and have a lot of data about how different pieces are shared, they have a whole lot of content, and it's their job to try to get that content shared as much as possible. And so what they use, or what they can use, is R, the rate of sharing for different pieces of content. And because they have the power of the network, it's their network, they can utilize it however they want, they can try to have different pieces of information shared in different ways. If they feature something at the very top of their website in key locations for longer periods of time, it's more likely to get shared more. Or if they bury it, it's likely to get shared less. And certain types of content, as we talked before, are more likely to be shared overall. What they found is, if they bury it, then it doesn't get shared very much, and that makes sense. If they try to promote it in a way that's consistent with the original content, then they're likely to have a certain amount of success. If they try to promote something too much to have an R that's greater than 1, then they certainly can, but as with anything, what comes up must come down eventually. They can get things to be shared more, but it's also riskier, and it's more unpredictable, and it's more likely that they're going to have higher number of backfires or fails versus a certain percentage of things that have gone viral beyond their wildest means. So depending on what a network's goal is to try to get a certain piece of content shared, they may feel like they want to risk going for the big R to really get the people to see a certain thing, or they may just want to sort of play it safe and promote something but not too much, or they may just want to bury it. So these factors, if you have the tools, all go into how much reach your content has, with sort of the proportional value of each individual network as expressed up here. The two pieces that we have so far of our recipe are amazing content and a strong network, which does include influential people. If you want to be as successful as you can and get your message out to as many people as you can, then you're going to want to promote it. No matter how amazing your content is, and no matter how large your network is, you always want to reach more people and make your network as large as it can be. And basically, what we're talking about is paying promotion. And this is one of the cruxes of the myth that social media is free. Building the network is free in that it doesn't necessarily take time, or doesn't necessarily take money, but does take time, although time is money. But if you're really trying to get a particular message out, you're not going to be as successful if you only use the free version of anything. And so if you have a particular marketing piece that you think has potential to reach a lot of people, you're going to be more likely to reach that critical mass if you promote it in a way that's going to be effective. And so you've got your content, you've got your video or your image or your text, whatever it is, and you've got the networks in place, you've been building them, you have lots of followers on Facebook and maybe Twitter, etc. You've got your email database for your patients, and you also want to promote this piece. And so you can certainly email individuals and say, hey, I've got this really great thing. Tell me what you think, and if it's possible, consider sharing it to your friends. You can absolutely do that, and that's actually something that you should do, particularly if it's personal among your small but influential group of friends. And there's a lot of us online in the different optometric communities that would be happy to do that for each other because it's good community. Yeah, this doesn't necessarily cost money, but it's limited in that you can only do it so many times. You can't go to your small group of friends daily and ask them to share stuff to you because they'll be fatigued. And so you can only do it when you really want to get your message out there. You can use ads, either AdWords on Google, or you can use some of the local options on Google to help draw attention to whatever this thing you've got. You put the URL, people can click on it and go see it. You can use Facebook ads. You can use sponsored posts, sponsored stories. You can definitely increase the amount of attention something gets on Facebook by giving Facebook money. That is definitely part of Facebook's plan now to reach as many people as they can and stay as profitable as they can for as long as they can by getting people to pay to get their message across. And you can pay Google to have your video featured on YouTube. And how exactly you're going to do that depends on what kind of content you've got. If you've got something that's very local, then you may want to define all of these things very locally and draw borders so it only goes to certain zip codes or certain areas. If you've got something that you want to just get as much attention as possible and boost those numbers as much as you possibly can, then you might want it to go out to the whole world and have people share things as much as possible. Regarding Facebook, you can do Facebook ads and you can do sponsored stories, on Facebook. But what you'll find if you sponsor something with no limitation is much of the engagement that you get might come from Egypt or Asia. And that's great to boost the numbers, but those people are very unlikely to actually spend any money in your practice. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that you want to factor that in when you're deciding how you want to promote this particular piece of content. So that's just an example of something that you want to factor in when you're deciding how to promote it. So you've got your three pieces. You've got amazing content, you've got the best network you can, and promotion. And all of that together gives you your viral marketing. And so we've looked at viral, we've talked about what goes into it, we've seen some good examples. Let's take a look at some bad examples, or what can go wrong. I talked a little bit about the rate of sharing and how you can push things really hard, but they can also become unstable, and so some of these are examples of that. So this first example is from Brown's Chicken, and they were trying to rebrand themselves, and they were trying to reach some new people, and they did some very creative things with this Something New is Hatching. They had a website, somethingnewishatching.com, and they really laid the groundwork for some interesting engagement. You can see here this video when I took the snapshot, which was only a couple days ago, only had 231 views. Why? They had all the content, they didn't promote it at all, and they probably did not have the pre-existing network. And so this is pretty much, as far as viral marketing goes, a fail. If they had put all this work into it, if they had just promoted it better, it may have had some potential. You know, who knows? But certainly, no matter how great your content is, if you don't have the network and you don't promote it, you're not going to be very successful. Now, here's another example. Chevy Tahoe, they wanted to increase the awareness of their vehicles, and they encouraged people to make their own ads. So they were trying to reach their evangelists, their hardcore fans. But what happened was people who are not fans got a hold of it, and they made these videos using stock footage, and you could type in your own text. Made these much more sort of anti Chevy Tahoe ads, and so this was basically losing control of the message. They were absolutely successful in terms of going viral, but not in the way that they wanted. And so then what they had to do was damage control. So if you're going to share something, and if you're going to enlist your patients and other people to help create and share the message, be vigilant to see if that's actually the type of message that you want to have shared. A somewhat similar example is Walmart. They there was this blog, and it featured this company, this family, and they were going around visiting different Walmarts in the country, and they were basically talking about how great the Walmarts were and how they were involved in the community, etc. The problem was the PR company that was doing this didn't make it clear that this was a Walmart sponsored blog. What they made it seem like this was just a family that was doing this because it was fun, and clearly there are basically no secrets on the web, certainly nothing on this scale. Once it was figured out that this was Walmart pretending to have this grassroots blog, the backlash was significant, and it did damage to Walmart's reputation in terms of online credibility. It also did some damage to the firm, the online digital firm that created and executed this particular thing. So while if this had been legitimate, if this was actually a big family of Walmart and they wanted to go out and do this, this could be gold for Walmart. Now, whether or not somebody would do that is a totally different story, but had they of, this could have been great content. But it wasn't. This was Walmart trying to be sneaky, and they got burned. So keep that in mind. So we've looked at the good and the bad. We've looked at what viral is and how it works. Let's talk specifically eye care. This is an example of an image that my staff put together. Every year, like a lot of offices for Halloween, we do the chocolate eyeballs thing, and because we do vision therapy and have a lot of patients who have binocular vision disorders, they put together this image to demonstrate different examples of strabismus, and this was a lot of fun. It was timely because it was Halloween. Clearly, it's eye related. We get the glasses that we sell, the frames. We got that part in there. We didn't promote it heavily, but we did make it a Facebook sponsored story, and we wound up getting a lot of comments, and I think between 50 and 60 shares of other offices, and so it was fun. Now, this is an example of something that a lot of people may have seen, and it got a whole lot of attention in a very short amount of time, and that's Warby Parker. And most people, I think, are familiar with Warby Parker and the fact that they are very successful at selling glasses online. They're very trendy and very hip. So in a very short amount of time, this ad got about 15,000 views. And a lot of it, I suspect, was from optometrists, or as they refer to us, as the greedy middleman. And so now this was an actual ad that they played on TV, but the fact that it was on YouTube and got discussed so much, this was done. They promoted it. They had a professional public relations company that made it and promoted it. But this is exactly what they do, is to try to get as much attention as they can in a short amount of time. And there's a reason why they are, to some degree, beating us at our own game. Now, another example of something that is an image, when the replacement refs were a lot of controversy in the for the NFL. This is a very simple, straightforward, kind of two-color image that was put on a Facebook page for the offices of Drs. Phillips and Lynn Roy and Associates in Wisconsin. I used to live in Wisconsin, so I know what kind of ravenous Packer fans live there. But this is the type of thing that, again, it was timely, it was easy to see, It got lots and lots of shares. Most of those were local, but there were certainly some other optometrists and fans who were upset about the situation, and so they got lots of shares, and they were. It was very, very simple and very effective. Now, this video is funny. This is from Dr. Alan Glazier in his Shady Grove office. This video has been around for a while, and it talks about how they have their guarantee for their eyewear, and this video has been seen for over 40,000 times. And what's interesting is this was not all at once. Sort of like what I was talking about with the double rainbow. It had some reception initially, but it was actually months later where, due to some factor, and I don't know exactly what, somebody influential saw it or shared it, and it's increased much more dramatically more recently. So you never necessarily know when a good piece of content is going to increase dramatically in views and interactions. And this one is deceptively simple. It's a word search that had these hidden words, and it was put on Facebook, and it basically just said, comment the first word that you see, and all the words that are in there are powerful, positive words like family and love and knowledge, and those kinds of things. It was a Facebook photo. It was promoted on Facebook, and for Vision Source of Linthicum, and this is so simple, but it got 60,000 likes, 15,000 shares, and over 300,000 comments. And this is probably the most viral thing I've ever seen in eye care. And it's one of those things that if you only have one of something this simple that gets shared that much, it can permanently increase the value of your overall network, and it continues to get attention. And it's the type of thing that you can't necessarily predict, because any of us could make something almost exactly like this, but it probably wouldn't have the same results. So, the key takeaway points, as I've said a few times during the lecture, you need to have excellent content, you need to leverage the power of networks, and you need to promote it appropriately. And keep in mind, it doesn't have to be viral, capital V, to be effective. All of the concepts that we're talking about will work to promote any particular piece of content or marketing online. It just may not get to the inflection point of going viral, capital V. It still will be shared viral, lowercase v, and still be effective in your immediate networks. So thank you. This has been an interesting topic for me. If you have questions, you can reach me any of these ways. You can email me at natebw@gmail.com.